I wrote this story and put it into DeepSeek to do some fine-tuning. The name of the story is The Haunting of Blackthorn Manor. Let me know what you think, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks. Chapter 1. The Journey to Blackthorn. Manor. Mark and Sarah Thompson had always dreamed of owning a historic home. When they stumbled upon an auction listing for a Victorian mansion in the deep woods of Minnesota, they couldn't resist. The house, named Blackthorn Manor, was a towering 4-story structure with a Gothic tower that loomed over the surrounding forest. They won the house through a tax-lien auction, paying a fraction of its worth, and set off on a road trip to their new home, unaware of the horrors that awaited them. The drive through the dense Minnesota woods was eerie. The GPS lost signal, and the winding dirt roads seemed to stretch endlessly. After hours of driving, they found themselves hopelessly lost. The sun was setting, casting long shadows through the trees, when they stumbled upon a small, forgotten town. The town was frozen in time, with 1950s-era cars parked along the streets and storefronts that looked like they belonged in a history book. The air was thick with an unsettling stillness. They pulled over near an old man riding a rusty bicycle. His face was gaunt, his hair disheveled, and his clothes caked with dirt. He looked as though he hadn't slept in weeks. Mark rolled down the window and asked for directions to 666 Satin Road. The man froze, his eyes widening with fear. For what felt like an eternity, he stared at them, his mouth trembling. Finally, he pointed a shaking finger toward a narrow, overgrown dirt road barely visible through the trees. Chapter 2. The Road to Blackthorn Manor. The road was a nightmare. Branches scraped against their car, and the uneven terrain made the drive agonizingly slow. After 3 miles, they finally arrived at Blackthorn Manor. The house was nothing like the photos. Its blackened wood and crimson trim gave it a sinister appearance, and the tower seemed to leer over them like a watchful predator. The windows were dark, and the air was heavy with the scent of decay. As they stepped out of the car, a blood-curdling scream echoed from the woods. Sarah clung to Mark, her heart racing. They hurried inside, only to find the living room littered with feathers and the stench of death overwhelming. As they ventured down the hallway, a massive black owl burst from the shadows, its screech piercing the silence. It flew past them and out the front door, leaving them shaken. "We can't stay here tonight," Sarah pleaded. Mark agreed, but the thought of returning to the creepy town was even worse. They decided to sleep in the car, though neither of them rested well. The forest seemed alive with whispers, and the house loomed over them like a specter. Chapter 3. The Morning After. The next morning, they were jolted awake by a loud banging on the car window. An elderly woman stood outside, holding a plate of cookies. She introduced herself as Lucy Ann, a local resident. Her kind smile was a stark contrast to the eerie atmosphere. "I was shocked to see anyone here," Lucy Ann said, her voice trembling. "This house has been abandoned for over a decade. The last family who lived here, they disappeared. People say it's haunted." Mark and Sarah laughed nervously, dismissing her warnings. "We don't believe in ghosts," Mark said. Lucy Ann's expression darkened. "Please be careful," she whispered before leaving. Chapter 4. The Unsettling Town. The couple spent the day cleaning the living room and moving their furniture inside. By evening, they were exhausted and hungry. Mark devoured the cookies Lucy Ann had brought, though Sarah found them too bitter to eat. That night, the house seemed to come alive. The pipes groaned, and brown water sputtered from the faucets. Mark fell into a deep sleep, snoring loudly, while Sarah lay awake, listening to the creaks and groans of the old house. The next morning, they drove into town for supplies. The townspeople stared at them with hollow eyes, their faces pale and expressionless. At Jude's market, the cashier, an old man named Jude, refused to speak, his gaze fixed on them as though they were ghosts. They left the money on the counter and hurried out. Lucy Ann greeted them outside. She directed them to Molly's diner, a 1950s-style eatery where the patrons stared at them with the same unsettling intensity. The young waitress, Cindy, warned them about the house. "Good luck," she said. "I've heard it's haunted." Mark and Sarah exchanged uneasy glances. Chapter 5. The moving van. When they returned to Blackthorn Manor, they were shocked to find a moving van parked in the driveway. The driver explained that they had arrived a day early due to a cancellation. "I tried calling, but there's no reception out here," he said. Mark apologized, but the driver shrugged. "Only one room is clean, so we'll have to put everything in there." As the movers unloaded their belongings, Mark and Sarah explored the house. In the attic, they found a dusty old photograph of the previous family, a couple who looked eerily like them. Beneath the photo was a newspaper clipping. "Local couple dies in tragic car accident on Satin Road." The date was 10 years ago. Chapter 6. The Truth. Unveiled. That night, the house revealed its secrets. The walls whispered and shadowy figures roamed the halls. Mark and Sarah realized they were not alone. They were the ghosts. The car accident on their way to Blackthorn Manor had claimed their lives, and the town was a purgatory for lost souls. Everyone in the town, from Jude to Cindy, was a ghost, trapped in a loop of their final moments. Only Lucy Ann was different. She was a psychic, a living bridge between the worlds. She had tried to warn them, but it was too late. Blackthorn Manor was a gateway, and the couple had crossed over without realizing it. Chapter 7. The Final Revelation. As the truth sank in, Mark and Sarah felt the house pulling them deeper into its grasp. The tower beckoned, its windows glowing with an otherworldly light. They climbed the stairs, their footsteps echoing in the silence. At the top, they saw their car mangled and lifeless. At the bottom of a ravine, the forest whispered their names, and the house embraced them, sealing their fate. Blackthorn Manor had claimed another family, and the cycle continued. The town remained frozen in time, a haunting reminder of the lives lost to the cursed house on Satin Road. This chilling tale of Blackthorn Manor is a story of love, loss, and the thin veil between life and death. Mark and Sarah's journey serves as a warning. Some houses are not meant to be lived in, and some roads lead to places from which there is no return. Thank you for wandering the haunting of Blackthorn Manor with us. We'll return soon with more tales to unravel here at Artificial Narratives. Until then, keep your lanterns lit. If you enjoyed the chills, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and ring the bell so you never miss a story. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below telling us what haunted you most, or what eerie adventures you'd like us to explore next. Your feedback fuels our creativity, so let us know. Should we keep the darkness alive? Until next time, sleep with one eye open.